Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Ashleigh. What have we been doing?
You're the one that want to talk.
All right.
You said you had the answers for everything.
I do. I just don't want to step on anybody's toes. So we are the owners of Stroke. It is an urban golf club in Plaza Midwood, right outside the heart of Charlotte. It's an indoor miniature golf and lounge, kind of like a mid-century modern 60s, 70s theme, where you can come and play mini golf. You can come and drink. We have a lounge. We have a kitchen. We have 9 holes of golf and some like warm-up putting areas and free putting arcade games. So we opened that about a month and a half ago. So in the last month, we've just been going balls to the wall, keeping it up and running, getting it running, and then keeping it up and running, and then growing it, hopefully.
Yeah, those warm-up putters are they're a little complicated, a little hard. Hit it my first time on one of them and haven't done it since.
Yeah.
That's a big compliment because we so Scott and our fabrication team designed the course. They designed the entire facility from the ground up. But they did design the course as well, and we only had 2,500 square feet to put 9 holes in. So the layout of the course is really, really well done. And the technicality of each hole is also really interesting, and they're all different, and they all give you a different challenge. So it's definitely not something you can come and master your first time through.
That's how I came at it. And then she also beat me in
the putt ski.
Putt ski.
Yes.
That's a whole other thing. That's a whole different beast.
So spoiler alert, if you've never been to Stroke, going to tell you what the 9th hole is. So if you're not interested, plug your ears for 30 seconds. The 9th hole is a giant ski ball, and it's a way to have a fun take on the final hole, as well as to capture the ball so we can easily collect them at the end of the course. And we have a smaller version called the putt ski that's out in the lounge. And sure enough, Ashley and Shane always battle it out at everything that
yeah,
they get
I feel like
to
that's important. To know.
Yeah.
There's a history.
Yes.
There is.
Alrighty.
We can talk about it if you want to, or we can just let it go because it's not really.
It's not going away.
Oh, it's not going away, but I mean, like, it's not
related to Stroke. Or is it related?
It
to
is
Stroke?
related to Stroke,
Well,
but I'm
then what
trying
is
to
it?
say it's not becoming for Sean because I've beat him in most of the things. So, like, if you want to gloss over it, we
Yeah.
can. If you want to get into it, I can do that too. I have pictures of all my wins.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The one time I beat her, the first time we had this, is where it started, and I don't have evidence.
Right. Yeah.
She knows it, but I can't prove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what drove each of you to kind of become an entrepreneur, break out of the shell of a normal?
What drove me to it is Scott. I think it was like 2015,
yes.
2015.
It's a big gap.
Stop. A lot has happened. It was 2015 when Scott first approached me about opening our own business and leaving our corporate careers. And there was like a piece of me inside that really wanted to leave the 9-to-5 and like working for someone else, but anxiety. So I was really scared to do it. And so Scott took months of convincing me, giving me business plans. The first venture that we started was axe throwing. So, he took me on a trip to Canada, where axe throwing was at the time because it didn't exist in the United States, and introduced me to it and made me feel comfortable with it. And he was really the driving force for me for doing this. And then I think once you leave the corporate life, it's really hard to convince yourself to return back to it if you have had a successful time doing your own thing. And I think we have. So when he came to me about Stroke, it was like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I'm not going back, so let's just keep going forward.
I think for me, the axe throwing really was just supposed to be a fun hobby that would kind of pay for itself. And like Ashley said, it didn't exist in the States at the time, so it was very much of we needed to create it if we wanted to do it. So that was kind of what started it, and then it just kind of spiraled out of control in a good way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
in
was
a good
like,
way.
it looks like it's working out
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
And then so you kind of set a date for when the change came, but was how long have y'all been entrepreneurs? Like broke out the 9 to 5.
So 2015 was when I approached Ashley and was like, let's do this. 2017 was when we finally opened the axe throwing business. In 2019, we opened 2 more axe throwing locations. And then in 2019, we also sold all 3 locations. And in 2019, we had started the build out of Stroke, and that just opened. So it's been like a 5-year journey. 2.5, 3 years of actual like making stuff happen, and the first 18 months to 2 years were planning and talking and understanding if it was feasible and should we do it type of ordeal.
Yeah. And I think when we decided to actually open the axe throwing facilities in 2017, it was too much for us to do, working 45, 50 hours a week and then coming home and working on getting this whole new business set up. So I left my job in March of 2017, I think it was, and I worked full time.
Yeah.
Okay, and I worked full time for the axe throwing at that time, and then just to be safe, because we didn't want to throw all of our eggs into one basket, Scott kept working at his corporate job, and so he would have his 9 to 5, and then he would come home and meet up with me, and we would work the rest of the night on axe throwing, whatever it is we had to do at the time, whether it was physical build out or like building the brand or working on social media or whatever. And we both agreed that Scott was not allowed to leave his job until A, we opened up our doors, and B, started seeing how successful it was going to be. So I don't think you quit your job until...
No, we had been open for a year and 2 months before I finally quit. And
Yeah.
really only then because, we had signed the lease on the next 2 spaces.
And it was gonna be
we knew it was
impossible.
going to be impossible.
Yeah.
Because I think Ashley and I both had hoarded all of our vacation for like 2 years before we opened the first one, because we were both still working full time. And so, the month before we opened, it was just like, bye, we're out for 3 weeks because we really need to be here. And it was, get as much done as possible in that last little 3-week push. Since we were, I think it would be get up at 6 and go to work and stay out till midnight or so for 3 weeks straight. And that's kind of what it was for this, for
Stroke
Stroke.
was similar.
That was more of the city delayed our construction for 2 months, and we were already paying rent, and it was just.
Oh yeah, it's like
we needed to get open, so it was more done as a necessary as opposed to like. I mean, they both were necessary. They're just necessary for different reasons, and that was one thing. Is like every time we've done something, it's something completely new that we've learned.
Yeah.
That's nice. It keeps it fun and interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fun is definitely a word for it.
So how long have you guys been in Charlotte?
We moved to Charlotte after graduated college in 2009.
Scott grew up in Charlotte, so he was more familiar with the city than I was. But we met in college, and then moved to Charlotte in 2009, and we lived there for
2 years. Then we went to Boston for 5 years,
Yeah.
and we've been back for almost 5 years now. So
Oh, so y'all moved here right after the visit for axe throwing and was like, all right, this is where we're doing it.
Oh yeah, Scott had the idea to do it when we were in Boston.
yeah,
And
we
so
had already been talking about moving back to Charlotte. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like, let's move back to Charlotte and let's do this in Charlotte. Was kind of the goal.
Yeah.
So how did you all deal with any like negative Nancy, Debbie Doubters, if you had any?
Are we
By
talking
that, I'm
about
guessing
so?
you did.
had
So I
any.
guess are we talking about for Stroke or for the businesses?
It doesn't matter. I know how to answer the question.
Ashley has the answers.
Yeah, she has all the answers.
Yes.
I remember that.
I do. Or I'll pretend.
I want to preface this by my tombstone is going to say, always listen to Ashley and consult with your lawyer, but always listen to Ashley is the first one.
Yeah. Taking it all the way back to axe throwing, I would say 90% of the feedback we got was negative. No one understood. No one was on board. Everyone thought it was a terrible idea. When they heard beer was going to be mixed in with it, I could see people's brains like exploding in their heads. They just hated it. And so we started doing our mobile marketing, and the questions gradually started turning from like, are you guys crazy? This is the worst idea I've ever heard, to when are you opening? Where are you going to be? I can't wait to come see you. And so that never stopped. There was constant negative feedback around axe throwing, and it sucked at the time because I just couldn't understand why people couldn't understand what I saw in it. But it helped us because we have gotten it at Stroke a little bit. People not thinking the concept is a good idea, people not liking where it is, people not liking the choices we made with the build out, whatever, people not liking the music that we choose. I already have that, we have that background in dealing with those negative comments.
2 years. So.
We have years of it. So it made it a lot easier for us to handle in this new venture. And I'm sure, and you can never please everyone, and you just have to keep reminding yourself of that, and you have to stay true to what you're doing is a good thing or a good idea or what's best for you, and just kind of block those things out. And like, I think the biggest thing we learned was how to learn between the difference between
something we should take action on, something we shouldn't.
Exactly. Something we need to pay attention to and take time into looking into versus just white noise of people being mean.
For Stroke, now. We our first couple nights open, our first, I guess, week and a half or so, we had comment cards to get people's feedback of like, hey, what would you recommend? What would you want? And to Ashley's point, it was like, oh, the music was too loud. And the next night we turned it down, and then someone's like, oh, the music's too quiet. And then one night it was the lights are too bright, and the next night the lights are too dim. And so a lot of times you can never, like Ash said, please everybody, but we were able to sort through like, this is what we're going to focus on, and this is what we're not going to focus on. We have, I don't know, 3 or 4 different domestic beer on as an offering, and people come in and be like, why don't you have this? Why don't you have you have Bud Light and you have Miller Light and you have Coors Light? Why don't you have Corona Light? It's like there's a certain level, like, well, because we're not a sports bar, so we're not going to have 60 different offerings of light beer from America, so that's something that we just got to kind of go through. And then, we get some comments that's like, oh, you don't accept cash. And it's like, why don't you accept cash? You lost my business. And it's like, well, when we accepted cash at the axe throwing, it would take 30 to 40 minutes every day to reconcile the cash drawer. It was never right. So we'd always have to figure out why it was over or why it was under or where's cash going, like what's happening. And then we always had to, 2 times a week, it was go get change at the bank. And it was just like, it never made any sense.
Plus, it's not safe.
Plus, it's not safe, like especially as a bar that's open late, you have your employees have to have cash, and it just doesn't make any sense. So it's like, that's a decision that we made. It might not fit with you, but it's 2020. My phone can make a payment. My phone can receive a payment. Why is cash necessary anymore?
It's all moving that way anyway.
Yeah. So, but to Ashley's point, it's like those are things that we have to listen to and just like be able to sort through and just kind of be like, okay, cool, thank you. We're sorry they feel that way. This is the reasons that we're choosing to do things. So.
Nice. I like the whole just.
Yeah. It's hard to do, but when you've heard it every day for years, it becomes easier.
Oh yeah. Oh, just white noise, false.
Yeah.
So, I guess you can hit it for. Well, you kind of hit on it already, but for both businesses, did you choose the business based off of passion or numbers, as in like the masses' interest in like that market seemed like it was going to be profitable no matter what you did?
Axe throwing was my hobby. I in Boy Scouts grew up throwing axes. Part of my life, I grew up in suburb of Charlotte. Another part grew up in a farm in South Carolina, threw axes and knives and did other things there. So it's like I kind of have always been drawn to that. I think looking at it, it made sense financially. I didn't think it would be as successful as it was, but it was like, okay, cool. This is going to be a fun hobby. It'll give us the opportunity to make money and not be a lot of work. And then it was a lot of work and it made money, and it just, it it became less about the hobby and more about the business. Stroke, I think, was the same. Like Ashleigh and I had been talking about like what our goals were for the businesses and what we wanted to do, and we really liked the entertainment and bar concept. I think Ashleigh really wanted something that was less high risk than axe throwing. I just know that it was terrifying for her to be there, just expecting someone to get hurt at any time. And so, I was like, cool, let's come up with some other thoughts. And a real estate agent actually kind of pushed us to do this as well, because they were like, oh, our landlord really wants entertainment uses, like we really want entertainment uses. And I was like, cool, we have an entertainment use for it. And they said, no, it's too dangerous. We need something less. And I was like, okay, I can come up with another idea. And so we kind of brainstormed. I grew up playing golf, and Ashleigh and I really love ping pong. So we kind of started throwing around, like doing like a country club that's just miniaturized inside. And then we talked about the ping pong, and it's like, oh, that's a lot of exercise as opposed to just fun. You got to move around a lot to play ping pong. Like it's not, golf is elegant and like simple, and you just walk and then you hit and you walk and you hit. Like it's easy. Whereas ping pong, you have to like actually be active, and we didn't think that it would be a good date night type of activity. So.
Yeah. And we wanted to, for stroke specifically, we also wanted to find something that was more approachable to everyone. Yeah. Axe throwing was cool, but it was very niche, and we excluded a lot of the community from it. So, if you
not
were,
intentionally,
sort of. I mean, we didn't allow children, so like that was our choice.
But then the perception of it also kind of self-excluded a lot of people.
Right. We weren't a bar, so you could drink while you were there, but you couldn't hang out and not throw. So we wanted something that everyone could come do and not feel pressured to do the activity. So you don't have to golf if you don't want to. You can just come in and eat and drink and hang out. Kids can do it, so we're family friendly. And so I think really connecting with the community was one of our pushes into doing something like miniature golf as well.
I like it. I'm hoping to hear more of like it was passion. But I'm sure some people are gonna be like, well, I mean, it was a smart business move. So it's like I don't do that personally, but it makes money.
Yeah. I mean, there was, I think, Scott's dad definitely helped us in the early stages of stroke, and he is definitely a passion player in
golf,
stroke.
not miniature golf.
Of golf.
But of miniature golf now.
Yeah,
and it's actually helped him tremendously with his putting, his short game.
Oh yeah, short game
on the golf course. Like
there's been real life transfer of like application of the game.
Very interesting, because last week he called me and he's like, "I'm putting left-handed," and I was like, "You've never putted left-handed before?" He's like, "No." He's like, "But from putting at stroke, where sometimes the ball lies and you have to hit left-handed or right-handed or opposite of what you're used to," he's like, "I learned that I'm not bad putting left-handed," and he's like, "and I have a horrible habit of not putting square when I putt right-handed." He's like, "So one day I was just like, let's try left-handed," and he's like, "and it worked really well," and he's like, "and I've been doing it, and I've been putting better than I have."
And he got a hole in one the other day.
And he got a hole in one the other day. That's
not on a miniature golf course, but like on an actual golf course. Yeah. So like I like to think that stroke has directly had a positive impact on his golf game.
Golfers, if you're in Charlotte area, come out and come to Stroke and get your putting practice on.
Yeah.
So what are y'all's favorite tools / facets for interacting with your customers?
Oh, this is one I might not have an answer for.
Ashleigh has a love-hate relationship with social media.
I definitely have a love-hate relationship with social media, but obviously the easiest way to communicate with everyone is via social media. And I would say that I think our Instagram profile is way more active than our Facebook. And that's not to say, I mean, like, yes, I need to get better at Facebook, but I think our Instagram one's always going to be kind of our primary social media platform, just because it's so easy, and I think it reaches more of an audience than Facebook does. So that's, I think, my favorite way to communicate with people, because you have DMs, you have story responses, you have comments that you can leave. You can, it's easier. And it also gives me a quick pulse into what everyone else is doing. So I would say Instagram.
I liked interacting in person. Like the other day, it was I don't know, Sunday night late, and we were very slow. So I went and played the course, and there was a couple in front of me putting, and they started asking me questions, and I started, answering everything, and come to find out, he's a local tool rep, and we use all his tools in the build out. And,
Oh man.
she's a flight attendant, and she's like, I travel all over, and like, and friends with a lot of golfers. And like, she's like, it's so much fun to like see this. And so those type of interactions are really cool. Another night, probably a weekday, this group of guys, I called up to them because they were doing every hole twice as they're going through, because it was again a slow night. And we started talking to them, and then I finished the course with them, and then we went and had a drink, and then we went and played the miniature golf arcade game together. So like, yeah, it was just, I enjoy those type of like small limited interactions with customers that are having a good time. Even if, we've had a couple people that come and talk and be like, hey, I think you should work on this or do this. Like, I enjoy those type of interactions too. The more one-on-one type of, interactions.
Scott's definitely the social butterfly of the two of us.
That's like a mirror image. Well, I guess it's like the same with me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, nah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah.
But like, and it was really cool because I went there for the soft grand opening. I don't think it was the grand opening.
Yeah,
I was there.
It was for it was the friends and family night. Because we only had like 2 holes. No, we didn't even have 2 holes.
No, it was just the
It was the
No, we
the
didn't.
bar.
it was like the lounge, and then
We didn't have
had
the booths in. Like, it literally was like a drink.
Half of
It
our
was-
lights were
Oh
out.
my
So
goodness.
It was like
Yeah.
it was like a
See what's going
mixer
on.
night.
Yeah, I don't
Just
even.
a-
It was just like, hey, we're coming soon. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think some of the holes, like, you could see where they were like holding it up, so that was pretty cool. So that one, it was a nice little social night. And then when we came in after it finally opened, we finished. Ashley was working the front desk, had small talk right there, went and played the course, and then as we went to go we sat at one of the booths and got some drinks and ordered some food. And Scott just happened to walk in for the first time that night and saw us and just sat down and talked to us a little bit. And
Yep.
went on. That's the kind of stuff I like as well. So
Yeah.
that was really cool.
I mean, he talked to you guys for a while.
Well,
I know. I got
that was he.
I wasn't
he
supposed
made
to
it-
work, but like I got there and I immediately got like chastised for stopping and talking because they needed help, and I didn't recognize that because I'm friendly, and I saw Shane
Yeah.
and Jordan. I was like, let's talk.
Because like so he sat at the booth and then we ate and then me and Jordan walked around. We were looking at the lounge space again because it had grown a lot since we had been there.
Yeah.
And then we were at the couch right under the Urban Golf Life sign, and Scott saw us again. And he was like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah.
And I actually could see the daggers coming from Ashley's eyes. I just didn't say anything. I could. I was like, I'm not going to say anything.
That's like the like negative comments. Like, I've learned to just kind of sometimes focus them out and like know when I really need to be aware of them and not.
Yeah. So what are some people or books that influenced you guys
People
and your
or
methods?
books?
People or books. Like it don't have to be both.
Okay. This is going to be really
Sad.
dumb answer.
But it's an answer.
But Gary Vee is a like motivational speaker. Well, that's what he's become. And he influences me every day. Like, so I've been following him for a while. And I was following him, when he was doing more of his marketing plans and business structure, and he was really geared towards helping entrepreneurs. And now he's kind of transitioned into helping individuals just, overcome any obstacle that they're facing, or starting their new business, or getting better at school, or whatever it is. He has a great outlook on it. And he's always so positive, and he's always like, just go do it. Like, if that's what you want to do, if that's your decision, and you've put time into it, and you've put the thought into it, and you have the research behind it, fucking go do it. And I think that's awesome. And I try and channel him a lot when I get scared about something, or when I'm not sure if it's a good idea, or if I don't want to do it. And he's just, he's kind of like my Scott, but like in the back of my head, like, when your husband or your wife can tell you something and you're like, okay, and then you hear it from someone else and you're like, let's go do it. Gary Vee's like my my other, like, let's go do it. And he supports what Scott wants to do a lot. So
Thank
he's
you,
always
Gary.
he's
I
always
appreciate
like
it.
my
Appreciate
push to
I
go,
know of you.
to
I don't
get
really
out and
know
go do it.
about
Oh.
you or don't follow you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Ugh.
I don't read books except fantasy novels, and I don't really follow anyone other entrepreneurs.
The Wheel of Time.
The Wheel of
motivates Scott.
Time is a great fantasy novel series. It's 14 books long. I'm doing the audiobook version right now because I don't have time to sit down and read, but I'm in my car a lot. So right now I'm on book 12. It's 33 hours long.
Oh, man.
And there's 2 more books, and there's a prequel. So I'd say I've been working on this for 3 years because I think it's almost like 400 hours worth of audiobooks for the entire series.
Yeah.
But I feel like if anybody knows Scott, he doesn't get external motivation. He doesn't get whatever. Scott is his own motivation. Scott is his own cheerleader. And you're in an entrepreneurial group.
Yeah,
right
I just started doing an entrepreneur group.
That seems really
entrepreneur
good.
organization. And they have a program called Accelerator that's to grow businesses, new businesses, and to get your business to do $1 million a year in revenue. And that's been a lot of fun. So that's been my first time networking. I've been doing that for 4 months now. And so we have a group of peers that are in similar stages in their business where they're all relatively new, and we have a mentor that's been a CFO for a large nationwide franchise for years and years and years, and he retired and he bought a business. And so he's kind of new to entrepreneur, but he's through working with franchise owners, experience what it's like to start your own business. And so that's been really tremendous and a lot of fun. And it's more of how to grow the business as opposed to it's really looking at truly about financials. And I think that might annoy Ashley sometimes because I'll come home from the meeting and be like, we need to do this. And it's like, why? It's like, well, we talked about this in my class and I identified that we're wasting money here. So let's change this. And yeah. So
Ever changing.
Yeah.
So what do you feel is the number one key to success in your field/market?
I can touch on that.
Go ahead.
I think it's in our in the entertainment lounge, bar recreation type of industry. I think it's 2 things: 1, first mover; 2, lots of money for marketing. I think either one of those 2 things will get it done.
You said what was the first point?
First mover, being the first person. The first axe throwing place in Charlotte, the first miniature golf place in Charlotte. I think that has a lot of say and a lot of hold in people. And then I think after that, it's really, you just have to have a lot of money to market in order to do.
I would agree with marketing.
Yep.
100%. I agree less with the first mover piece, but that's been our model since we started, and it's worked out for us. So I guess I can't knock it. But I am constantly worried about or thinking about the next person who's going to come in and replicate it and do the same thing we do, and how are we going to stand out from them. So I would have to say that in addition to marketing, because I do wholeheartedly believe that that's the major piece of it, is growing and always changing. And always be willing to make adjustments and improvements and to grow. If someone opens a business and says, this is how it is, this is how we're going to do it, everybody leave me alone, I don't think you're going to be that successful. I don't think you're going to stick around that long. But if you're willing to take the feedback that matters, and you're willing to look at the trends, and you're willing to look at where you are not doing so well or where you are doing well, and make strategic moves based off of those things, I think you're good.
Yep.
And that's I think what we are striving to do really well is constantly have an eye on all of those things and making sure that we're making the right moves based on what people are looking for.
Yeah, I can already see it with Stroke when I've been there 3 times now, and then the first time there was nothing there. But the second the second and third time, it's changed so much. And then I do keep up with the social. So whenever I see you all post something, it's always just adding new stuff.
Yep.
And it's really cool to see that, because it also helps people who are already following you guys to be like, I want to go back and see that.
Right. Yeah, I hope so. And like, we have a ton of stuff that we're doing that we're getting ready to roll out. Also, we just had like a 2-hour meeting this morning about some new changes we want to implement. And so we've started marketing some of them. We have not started marketing others. So I think going into spring and summer is going to be really exciting for us, because we have a big backlog of stuff that's already approved and like loaded and ready to go.
Yep.
Just gotta slowly roll them out.
Yeah.
That's
don't want to overload.
Exactly.
Yourself.
You don't want to overload us or the staff or customers. Like, so it's got to have like a nice consistent pace to it. And that's what's tough with me, because I want everything done now.
Yeah, it's like
I want everything done yesterday.
But
so
it's like, this is completed. Why are we not?
Yeah.
Why is it sitting in the corner?
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm learning to grow as an entrepreneur, is that like things can't always be done now. They can. There's sometimes a very good reason why they shouldn't be done right now, I guess is realistically what I mean to say.
So, do you guys have a number one customer success story for you guys?
I know
that you can think of.
I'm trying to remember the circumstances around it. Yep. Okay. My favorite customer is, well, it's his family, and his name was Putt Putt. And his family came in. They heard about when we opened. I think they came in like week 3.
Yep.
And Putt Putt, had just passed away. And they called him Putt Putt because he loved to play putt putt. And as their granddaughters told me numerous times, he was not good at it. He fell in the water a couple of times. He, he was not going to be a champion, but he loved it. And so he would go out a lot. They would all go out as a family. And so I think it was the day of what would have been his birthday, came into stroke. They brought a picture of him that we have hanging on our picture wall now. And they just celebrated his life and his love of putt putt at stroke. And there were a couple of times where, they'd be on the course, or they'd be sitting in a booth talking and laughing about memories they had with him. And then they would just have tears streaming down their face. And they were so happy, and they got pictures in front of the wall with Putt Putt up there. And they loved it, and it was really special for them. And I was really honored to be able to offer that ability for them to come in and experience that and like relive that. So they were, I think, hands down my favorite people we've had come through.
Nice.
Yep.
So what are your hobbies outside of y'all's business?
I don't have time.
Yeah, no. That's nice.
Nope. But I would say plants are my hobby right now. And I'm also a big proponent of self-love. So I could talk about that all day, but I just counted all of our plants in stroke today. We have over 100. And they range from like giant bird of paradises to palm trees to smaller air plants. We have so many. And I love taking care of them. And I've been promised that when we have a house, I can have a greenhouse that I can have a bunch of plants that I can take care of. And then again, also just super big focus on self-love. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. But it's good time and it's good effort and it's well spent. And I think anybody who's working as much as we are should be taking time out for themselves as well, every day if they can. So those are my 2 big focuses: keeping plants alive and keeping me alive.
Keeping me alive. Yeah. That's kind of important.
Yeah. What about, I feel like you have hobbies. You game a little bit. You want to get back into it. You used to. You have your books. You used to play Magic. You still play Magic a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I have former hobbies.
It's like a former hobby.
I played Magic the Gathering probably 4 times last year.
We've been roller skating twice now.
I've been roller skating twice. That's a business experience, but that's a different topic. And then the last time I played a video game was I played WoW for 2 weeks last like June.
No, there's been earlier times.
Nope, there's not. Played WoW two weeks in June, and then I got very overwhelmed because I used to be a hardcore gamer, and then business and life took over, and I can't play casually. And so I realized, like, after playing for 2 weeks, and the bad thing was I signed up for like a year. I paid for a year out front.
yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. It's it's fun. And then I played for like an hour a day, and then got back into it, and I was like, oh, I really want to raid. And I was looking back into like what's required, and it's like, shit, I need to spend 30 hours a week doing this. I can't do that. Like, I'm not playing this anymore.
I need to spend 5 hours on one piece of gear.
Yeah.
And I need 13.
Yeah. No. So like I very quickly learned that I can't be casual at gaming. So
especially at WoW, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Scott used to be really good.
Raiding?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And when my friends introduced me to Arena and Battlegrounds, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It didn't take too long for
I
me
didn't
to get shit
enjoy
on.
Arena as much, but Battlegrounds was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what I ended up moving to because I started playing Arena and MOP, Mist of Pandaria.
Yep.
And I was a Mistweaver monk, and they were stupid OP.
Yeah. And I remember
then
watching like YouTube videos.
And then I
of them.
remember when the next expansion came out, I was like, oh, this is how it is for everybody else.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I just did Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
So what are some approach methods that you all had for partners or investors?
So right now, my dad is an investor. He invested. He and I have been brewing beer for like 3 years, and he really wanted to open a brewery. And the more we kind of talked it out, the more we decided that that's something neither of us wanted to kind of focus on in terms of starting a business that's that type of focus. And so he had been wanting to start something and invest in something. And so I proposed to him joining us and growing axe throwing, and then now into stroke, and the kind of all that time and kind of fell in line. Before him, we had been reaching out to some other people to talk about investment, and it really was like friends of friends, because we're so small now that it was like, I don't really know how to get in touch with like big investors, and the type of industry that we're in really doesn't suit for like big institutional investors,
Mm-hmm.
like private equity firms and like angel investors. They're not really looking to invest in a bar. They're wanting to invest in tech companies and stuff like that, and apps and all, what's modern, like companies like that. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really have an approach. Not really sure what to do.
Friends of friends. I mean, that's still an approach.
Yeah. I think it's just been
use the existing network.
Exactly. Use the network that we have. Yeah.
And then I had it there, and then I scrolled away. You kind of hit on this earlier, but research time before taking the leap when you finally did, and if you could on both businesses.
So axe throwing, it took about a year of researching it and going through financials and like putting a plan together. And that was probably just a couple hours a week. Before Ashley finally was like, okay, yes, let's do it. And then it was like, okay, now I need to figure out how to actually do it. And then it took another 18 months to secure insurance and to find a building. Once we kind of got all the like the business, like legal stuff kind of figured out, insurance and landlord and that type of stuff, doing it at other times were easier. Obviously nothing is ever easy because we're always learning stuff. But so it was probably like a little over 2 years for opening axe throwing, and it was a couple hours a day, every day, pretty much the entire time. And then for stroke, it was a lot faster because again, it was something that we kind of knew. Like I think it was figuring out the pricing was different, like still took a little bit of time to try to figure out like how to price it. but I say that we probably got that figured out like within a month, because we visited some other miniature golf bars in Charlotte, or not in Charlotte, but in the U.S. Looked at other comparable entertainment options in Charlotte and like what made sense. The design is the biggest part, because like Ashleigh said, like myself and 8 Lincoln 30, which is a design and fabrication firm in Charlotte, we built it. It's just the three of us. Like,
yeah, 8 Lincoln 30 is just two brothers.
Yeah, yeah, they're awesome, and they have a great little shop, and they can do a lot of stuff. And so like the three of us did it, and then Ashleigh and Tripp, one of our employees, they kind of worked on the finishing, the core and stuff. So like everything was that we did, and so that was the hardest, was the design. And I think a lot of the like processes and practices that we have in place kind of were carried over from 2.5 years of the axe throwing. Like, oh, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it, because we've learned that we had to do it. But it was definitely like the first year at axe throwing was a lot of changes in terms of like how to run the business, like how to do it effectively and easy, and where it's easy for us and easy for the employees and easy for customers, because they all don't match, and it's like trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. And I mean, look at Ashleigh's background, had a lot of like focus on those type of like processes, so like it was kind of in her wheelhouse to kind of take it and run with it.
Have you all used paid ads or promotions? And if you have, how did you feel about them, return wise? Like,
so, we for axe throwing we didn't. We just
y'all were boots on the ground for that.
Yeah. So for axe throwing, we had a mobile axe throwing set up where we took out to breweries and events and businesses and let people try it for free. So that was kind of the marketing for that. And then after we got it open, we never did any paid advertisement or sponsorships. And now for Stroke, we want to do it, and we're just now starting to expand it. So, I'm just now starting to do Google ads and Yelp ads, and starting to figure out those. But because we're new, I'm still trying to figure out like what keywords to use and search words and how the best to do it. And we've been approached by some radio stations like, oh, do the radio ads, and like we'll come do a partnership with events and stuff. And we're talking about using like local influencers to market an event we want to do later this year, and like pay them to do that. And so I don't know, it's daunting. Like
marketing is the like the craziest piece, because it's the one thing, honestly, that I am looking between the experience and knowledge that both of us have, and even our chief operating officer, Tripp. So if I combine the three of us, because it's the three of us at the core, none of us have experience in marketing. Like Scott's background is in insurance and finance. My background is in human resources and contracts and whatever. Tripp's background is in manufacturing. So none of us have knowledge or teachings or like anything about marketing, and it's a crazy world out there. You have like people coming at you from every direction that's like, do Facebook marketing, do Instagram marketing, do this, do these, do radio, do this. Oh, we're $10,000 to sign a contract and do 2 ads with us. So and it's just like wow, there's a lot of stuff to do. So we started out small, just doing some boosted posts. And I really don't feel like we got our return from those at all.
What, the Facebook boosted posts?
Yeah, Facebook and they also, or Instagram boosted posts.
I think it does it both, but I
didn't feel like we got our bang for our buck out of those. So now we have a team that we're actually working with.
Yeah, we just started doing some work with a marketing firm that'll help us like grow this. And their first thing right now is to redesign the website. So we haven't really started pushing on advertising, but it's just been the website needs to get redone to start the advertising push.
It's like we don't want to pull all these people's interest in, and then the site just be
yes, exactly.
They're going to see the site and just be like, nah.
Yep. So it's like a redesign of sites first and foremost, and then start doing advertising. And while they're waiting, that's why I've started playing around with the Google ads myself. And it's like, I think we have like a $50 a day ad spend for Yelp and Google. And it's like, I don't know, in 2 weeks, like we've had like 20 people click on our location to learn how to get to stroke. And it's like, I don't know if that seems like a good return. Like, I don't know. Like, we don't have a product that people can buy now. So it's like if I, was selling merchandise or a physical product that you would go on my, site and buy, I could probably easily track like what that conversion is. But like now it's like, how do I
know when they step in my door, if they step in my door?
Right. So it's really hard to like know what's correlated to what, and that's what's tough. Like, that's why we've kind of been hesitant to do it, is because it's like it's overwhelming. It's like, we had to sign a year contract with a marketing firm, and so it's like we're committing to do this for a year, and we're committing to spend a decent amount of money for a year in order to try it, and it's like I don't know how to really justify.
That's a heck of a trial period.
Yeah. So it's like, so we're doing it, but I don't know. It's tough.
We'll tell you in a year.
Yes.
Yeah. Visit this back. See how it went.
Yeah.
Approach on reaching out to other businesses or people for guidance / ideas for improvement.
We've done that from day one. Before we started axe throwing, we went again to Canada because there were none in the United States, to talk to the owners and founders of Battle and Urban Axes and get their feedback or guidance and or lessons learned, just kind of any piece of information that we could to better direct and prep ourselves for success. We've done similar things with stroke. We weren't super concerned about the mini golf piece, although we did have Scott Stad, who was pretty integral in getting the course set up the right way to make sure that it translated to putting on an actual green well. But the biggest piece that we were concerned about was the bar, because none of us had ever run a bar before. I've worked in one, but I've never been responsible for one. So we definitely reached out to some contacts that we had to help us do some bar consulting, making sure we had things set up the right way, our pricing was on point, our returns were making sense. And then the second piece that we didn't have experience in was running a kitchen. And so we had made a great partner with Fresh Eats Catering, who at the time also had a food truck called Fresh Med. And they actually run our kitchen and partner with us. So we reached out to them early also to say, hey, can you come help us do this? Because we don't know anything about running a kitchen. And frankly, we don't have the bandwidth to get into it right now. But we know it's something that we want, and we trust you guys, and we know you're going to put out a good product. So we definitely had really great people in our corner from doing business with us in the past, or being referred to us from people that we've worked with in the past, that this would be impossible without them.
And you had said the next question, but didn't hit on it. But lessons learned from starting with you guys.
Oh Lord. So many.
Always listen to Ashley and consult your lawyer.
Yes, you're hitting that again. You can drive this in the nail.
Ashley runs social media, so if you have questions, shoot us just a message on Instagram and she'll reply. But yeah.
Good. I think the two biggest lessons learned I have, there's three. It's always going to take more time than you think. It's always going to be more expensive than you think. And you cannot plan enough.
Yeah, I feel like
I can get into those if you'd like, but I think they're pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, and so I think I'm actually going to switch these last two questions, because I threw in this last one earlier today, and I didn't mean to put it to the last, but so how to spot and avoid sabotage advice. Like, have you all had to deal with that from, like, maybe competitors or people that just want to see you fail?
You just said so many words I did not understanding context.
He's saying, has someone ever told us something that was deliberate to sabotage us?
Yeah, like you heard the advice and like you instantly knew you're not trying to help me, you're actually trying to hurt me.
Yes. I can't think of what it was exactly, and I'm not going to say who it came from. But absolutely. I don't know if you can speak more to that, but there's definitely been times someone has said something to me like, you should do this, where I've just been like, you're either bat crap crazy or you're trying to hurt me.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I've noticed it.
Yeah, that's that one's a hard one, but I got from the first podcast, that was like one thing that people were like, you might want to ask people this, and I was like, well, I don't own a business, so I can't tell you.
Yep.
So I'll ask the question.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a pretty shitty thing to do, I think.
I can't fathom someone wanting to do that, but I guess, and I thought it would probably apply to you guys, seeing how you all were in the entertainment side of the house, and I feel like that's a pretty tough market, although y'all's have been pretty niche, and so I felt like maybe you all may have gotten that advice from someone else and was just like, nope, I can see the trick behind that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like, in that same vein, we've also had people come through both our businesses, so both axe throwing and stroke, and right in front of me have talked about their plans for doing the same thing and how they could do it better. And that's mind-boggling to me as well.
Yeah.
So there's people out there that like are just, they're rude and mean.
Yeah, because we did market research. We visited other places, but we didn't go in like talking about, oh, we'll do this differently. We wait until we leave, and then we go talk about it at the bar next door or at the hotel room or wherever else. Like, take notes while you're there and then leave and
You're
then
right.
talk about it.
There's
but
nothing
it's like,
wrong with doing research to go to other places
like, obviously
and
it's
say,
going to happen.
this is how it's
that's
done.
Smart.
This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I want to change. But there's a whole other element to like walking through when you're in front of the employees or you're in front of the, other customers.
I mean, and then likewise, like when we first opened axe throwing, people would look at it and be like, oh, this is so simple. Like, I can do it. Tell me how you did it. Like, and it's like, no. And then we had, a group reach out to us from Massachusetts, and they're like, hey, we wanted to do this. Like, this is our plan. These are the questions that we have. These are our answers to the questions we have. We're just hoping that you could kind of give us a feel if we're right and in the right direction. And we spent, I think we spent like 2 hours on the phone with him. He flew down from Massachusetts to Charlotte, and we spent maybe an hour there. We because we're from Boston, they were like 20 minutes outside of Boston. When we went and visited, Ashleigh's friend for a wedding, like we made sure to stop by and see their progress. And like, we were very collaborative with helping them because they were doing it the right way and not just coming to us and say, tell us how to do it. It was, hey, I want to run this by you. Like, this is our plan. Like, does it make sense? Do you have any lessons learned that you'd share with us? And like, we were happy to collaborate and share with them, but at the same time, we had someone that harassed Ashleigh for like 6 months about like, how do I open my axe throwing business in the same market that you're in so I can be your competitor? Like, tell me what to do. Like, I have it all figured out. It's going to be so much better than yours. And then she'd come and be like, here's my 20 questions I need you to answer so I can open it. And it's like, if you have it all figured out and know it's going to be better than us, then why are you asking these simple questions?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of, well, I guess it's not really sabotage advice, but like that you could just feel the demeanor straight away. It was like, you're not, it felt more like an attack than a question.
So I guess not necessarily answering the question, but to people listening, like if you're interested in starting a business and you want to get advice from someone that has a business, I would recommend going to them with answers to your questions and saying, this is my plan. These are my answers. Could you just give me your feelings on these? Or like, do you have any lessons learned that you could share to help me with these? Like, don't go to someone looking for how to do it. Go to them looking for advice on, how to change what your plan is, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting away from the business talk for the last one, favorite spots here in Charlotte that you like to go to?
Oh, there's so many.
All right, so I'll start. I love Abari. Zach, the owner of Abari, has becoming a good friend, and he's been really good help with us from Max throwing into Stroke, like with giving advice and some business related things. Love video games, so that's my gaming is going and spending $10 in quarters at a bar. Really love oysters and seafood, so shout out to Rock Salt for having the best oysters and seafood in Charlotte. I really love sushi, so shout out to Oku, which is just right down the road, for having the best sushi in Charlotte. Soul Gastrolounge, which is right across from Stroke. Amazing cocktails and food.
So good.
Yeah.
I really love Three Amigos tacos. Or not their tacos, they're nachos. They're like loaded nachos. Yeah. So good. Where else do we like to go? I like croissants
mainly
for
food.
cheap sushi.
It's mainly food.
Yeah.
Mainly
food.
Yeah.
I know you didn't specify food, but that's pretty much all we do.
Yeah. That's like if someone
so
asked me that.
When we travel, it's about food, and it's like
yeah.
Like
I saw the
progressive
Asheville
dinner.
or
It
the
was
progressive
Durham, yeah.
dinner
So we were
that was really cool.
Scouting some properties and go look at 6 properties in the day, and then 5 o'clock rolls around and it's like, okay, cool, let's go eat now. And we're only in the city for 2 days, so it's like, let's do a progressive dinner. And so we picked a neighborhood. I picked 10 places, and then we just started going through as many as we could. I think we made 6 on the first night and 4 the second night. And so just going to a place, have a drink, share an appetizer, share an entree, share a dessert, like whatever, and then go to the next place. And just like that way you can get a wide feel of things. You can see the neighborhood, and we get to eat a lot of different food too. So
yeah,
it's cool.
That's the same approach we have when we go on our business trips.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so how much of this town can we cover?
That's right.
In the short amount of time we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's see. Like if I had to make a progressive dinner in Charlotte, I'd probably start at Soul for drinks and like maybe a quick app. I'd probably go to Oku for their omakase.
No, you can't do
Why?
omakase as a
okay,
as a
fine.
progressive
I'd go
dinner.
to Seoul for a roll. This is blasphemous, but I'll go there for a roll.
To Oku for a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said so.
Where would I go for dessert?
We're gonna pick in 3 things. That's not enough
I'd
for a
probably go to
progressive dinner.
Midwood or Diamond for their banana pudding. 'Cause they have the best.
I was like, Midwood's banana pudding is
so good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then I definitely finish up at EB's with a round of pretzel knots from Fuel, Funyuns, and way too much alcohol.
That place is pretty fun.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So right down here, I will be putting links for the Stroke socials and stuff like that for you guys.
I've always wanted to do this.
So there you go. So that takes care of the business side of questions that I had for you guys. But for CLT Bytes, I don't end it just there because mainly I want to put more people in front of you, or I guess them in front of you and you in front of them in a sense. So are there any other local entrepreneurs that you all find interesting? I know you talked about
Zach,
9 Lincoln.
8 Lincoln 30. Yeah, so Jason and Jeremy, 2 brothers that own 8 Lincoln 30, design and fabrication shop. They're really cool guys, and they are awesome at what they do. They pretty much completely built Stroke from scratch, and they can kind of do anything that they want. They can create it out of nothing. Zach with Abari, really awesome. Jamie, the chef and one of the owners at Five Church and Sophia's Lounge.
Yes.
Is really great. He's on Top Chef this season. This, I guess, the All-Star season, right?
Yeah,
he was on it.
Up with it.
Yeah, he was on an earlier season. Now on the All-Star celebrity.
But what's cool about Jamie is like he has this. He has his like public profile where he has he's a chef. He has Five Church. He has Top Chef. He does all these really cool public facing things. But he and Corey also have a farm.
Yeah.
That I think, what is it called? Chef Jamie's Farm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow a lot of like the microgreens that Five Church
Vegetables and all
uses
sorts of
in their
stuff.
dishes.
Yep.
They have like their flowers that they grow and put in Sophia's Lounge, and
Yep.
like so they're really doing kind of like farm to table, on a high level scale, which is really, really cool. Also, I'd say Alex from Alex Tattoos. She recently opened up her own studio called Iron Ghost Tattoo, and it's actually like right behind Abari. So if you're familiar with the area, that's where she is. And she does freaking awesome work.
I was like, I'm pretty sure the artwork is on display.
Yeah, always.
My right arm is all Alex. Yep.
Who else? Oh my gosh, I'm so sure we're forgetting someone. But yeah, those are, I think, the big hitters.
And I'll try and put all those links down here as well, or well, probably in the video description, because that's going to be a lot. I don't want to flood the screen.
There'll be one here and here and here. That's right.
So this would be a two-way street. Any questions for me that you all had? It doesn't have to be business related, but just anything.
When is our next battle?
And what is it? Is it miniature golf? Or have you played the Power Putt, the mini golf arcade game?
I had not, because there were two big parties that would not move out of my way.
Yeah.
Do you know what we should do? We should start inviting people to our battles, and like not just
have them participate or watch.
No,
I was like, they
them
can't
watch.
Just watch.
It'll be, hey, you could
viewers and listeners, come out. Battle Royale.
A battle royale. That's oh, there we go. A battle royale. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to figure it out. Maybe it's Power Putt. I'm not very good at that game.
I hadn't played it yet, so you already have a one.
Yeah, but you're like, that makes me nervous because you have a gaming background, and I don't.
That does not relate, though.
I don't think it relates
at all.
It doesn't relate.
Oh, okay.
It's just a trackball that you roll.
But
we should do Simpsons bowling at Abari.
Oh yeah.
Should do what?
Simpsons bowling at Abari.
Okay, I'm down.
I am so good at that game.
I couldn't tell if that was like, I'm going to crush you, or like, please don't challenge me.
I'm gonna crush you. What else? What's your favorite game to play?
Right now, my favorite game to play is probably Rocket League,
and that's computer based, right?
Well, it's on all consoles. Yeah.
Did it start on computer?
I don't know.
I think it actually
was
launched
on Xbox.
I think it launched cross-platform.
Oh, how embarrassing!
I think
for me,
I know. It was.
How dare you?
It was at least on consoles when it first released.
Yeah,
that's when I bought my PS4 and I was playing it all the time. I'm not very good at it, but I like playing it. Yeah. And then Apex Legends.
What's the worst game you've ever played?
The worst game I've ever played.
And worst can be like any criteria you want. Like the graphics, the storyline, the gameplay, like whatever you want that makes it the worst.
That's a tough question because I haven't played a whole lot of bad games.
Oh.
Yeah. I just happen to get lucky with all the games I end up getting or playing. I don't really have a bad game. But I do have a bad experience, and it really sucks. But the Breath of the Wild Zelda game that's on the Switch,
oh yeah,
I was so disappointed in that final fight.
Yeah,
because I was like, wait, I didn't even mean to roll up in here, and I just beat the game.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. I didn't play it, but I watched it.
So Ashleigh doesn't play a lot of video games. That was the last video game that I played like to completion. But she loved watching it because it was like a story and it was like a movie, and
it was
like
gorgeous.
Yeah, I was like, that game just looks amazing. Jordan felt the same way.
Yeah.
She was like, "Can you put that on the dock so I can watch you play it on TV?"
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. The final battle came and went, and I was like, "Cool, what's next?" And Scott was like, "That's
I mean, I could go try to. What's the little dudes, the seedling guys again? I can't remember their names.
Oh, the Koroks.
The Koroks. Yeah, I gotta go try to
finish that
all 500 or however many there were, but like that doesn't sound fun.
No,
yeah,
the DLC was all right, but I can't wait for the second one.
What about you? You have a worst game?
No, I don't think so. Again, I'm very selective with the games that I choose, so like I don't know. I don't like ever really start doing something that I haven't heard good reviews on or don't want to like actually play.
Yeah. Well, the worst game I've watched recently is that Pokemon game, where you're like, it's like what is it called? It's like classic Pokemon. It's the one that Brandon and Megan were playing forever.
On the Switch?
Yeah, where you gotta like fight them, but like you could also rub their bellies and like make them
Oh
really
yeah,
happy.
it's the new one on Switch. I don't know.
It's terrible.
I was like, I have Sword and Shield, but I think there was a different Pokemon game on there, but I don't know what it's called either.
It's terrible. It's the same thing over and over and over and
It's
over.
the one where
and over,
Pikachu
over,
rides
over,
on your
over,
shoulder.
over. Yeah.
Oh,
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
As a viewer, it's terrible.
As if you're Ashley didn't play.
Oh, yeah. She doesn't play the games. But
One
yeah.
star.
Yeah.
So,
See, this is the type of comments that you ignore. If you're developing a video game, you'd be like, "I'm not. Why do I listen to Ashley's 1-star review? She didn't even play the video game."
Yeah.
My reviews are meaningless.
So did you guys have any plugs or promotions you wanted to throw in for Stroke?
So we've got a lot of cool stuff that we're rolling out. I would say always, first and foremost, follow us on social media, because that's where we announce everything. If you're not on our newsletter, we don't really spam you. We only send out newsletters twice a month. But the people who are newsletter subscribers do get to know everything first. They get first dibs on any special events that we're hosting. Sometimes there's like newsletter only perks that you'll get as well. There's two big things we're getting ready to roll out. One is brunch. So every Sunday, starting on the 22nd of March, we'll be doing brunch from 11 to 2. And our chef, Laura, has come up with really cool, off-the-wall brunch items. Yep. Everything is $6.75, so super cheap. And we'll be doing $4 double mimosas on brunches as well. And then we have a huge Masters event that we're getting ready to kick off, which is on the 12th of April.
Yep.
That's the 12th of April. And we'll be doing a ticketed private viewing of the final day of the Masters.
Free drinks, free food.
Yeah, free drinks, free
unlimited
food.
Golf.
Unlimited golf, prizes, raffles, huge giveaways. Like our biggest prize giveaway is going to be a deluxe putting package worth over $600. So definitely a cool thing. Again, newsletter people are going to get it first. So if you care about that, come join the newsletter, because there are going to be VIP tickets and there are only 6 available. So they're going to go really fast. So I would say that. And then just, we're always growing. We're always learning. We're always implementing new stuff. So keep coming back and trying us out and seeing what we have going on, because it'll be a different, good experience every time.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out.
Cool.
Really
Thanks for having us, Shane.
appreciate it. Really love anytime I get the chance to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
So that'll wrap it up for us. And this is Brother Jack's signing out.